Most seniors are asking the wrong question when they compare amlodipine and metoprolol. The question sounds simple. Which one is safer? But in medicine, especially after 60, that is rarely the place to start. The better question is this: safer for what kind of body, what kind of heart, and what kind of problem? I'm Dr. Warren Hung, a medical doctor, and this is one of those medication questions that sounds straightforward until you look at what these drugs actually do inside the body. If you like clear health explanations without the confusion, subscribe and stay with me. Amlodipine and metoprolol are often talked about as if they belong in the same box. People hear that both can be used for high blood pressure, and they assume choosing between them is like choosing between two brands of the same thing. It is not. These medicines work differently, stress the body differently, and can create very different issues in older adults. That matters more after 60, because the body is not handling medication the way it did at 35 or 45. Blood vessels are often stiffer. Balance may be less reliable. The heart may already be dealing with years of strain. Kidney function may not be as strong. A senior may also be taking several other prescriptions at the same time. Now, the question is no longer just whether a medication lowers blood pressure. The question becomes whether it lowers it in a way the rest of the body can safely tolerate. This is where people get misled. They focus on the blood pressure reading and forget the person attached to the reading. Amlodipine is commonly used when the goal is to relax blood vessels, so pressure can come down. Metoprolol is commonly used when the goal is not only to lower pressure, but also to reduce the workload on the heart by slowing it down and making it beat with less force. That may sound like a small distinction, but it changes everything about how each drug feels and what kind of side effects may show up. Think about two different seniors. One has plain high blood pressure, some stiff arteries, and ankles that already swell by the end of the day. The other has high blood pressure too, but also gets episodes of a racing heart, had chest pain in the past, or has been told there is a heart rhythm issue. On paper, both people may look like blood pressure patients. In real life, they are not the same patient at all. That is why the safest medication is not the one with the nicest reputation online, and it is not the one a neighbor says worked well. It is the one that matches the reason it was prescribed in the first place. This is also why comparing side effects without context can lead people in the wrong direction. Someone may say, I heard amlodipine causes swelling, so metoprolol must be safer. Another may say, I heard metoprolol makes people tired and slows the heart, so amlodipine must be safer. Both statements miss the bigger picture. A side effect only tells part of the story. What matters is whether that side effect is dangerous for your situation, whether the medication is solving another problem at the same time, and whether your doctor is watching the right signals after starting it. After 60, those signals matter more than most people realize. Feeling lightheaded when standing up may not seem dramatic, but in an older adult, that can mean a fall. Swollen ankles may sound minor, but they can affect walking, comfort, and sometimes confuse the bigger heart picture. A pulse that runs too low may get brushed off as tiredness, but that tiredness could mean the heart is being slowed more than the body can handle. This is why the idea of safe has to be broader than, does it lower blood pressure? Safe means, can you stay steady on your feet? Can your heart still meet the body's demands? Can you breathe comfortably? Are you too tired to function? Is swelling getting worse? Is the medication helping the condition it was chosen for, or only creating a new set of problems? That is the real comparison seniors need. And there is another mistake people make. They assume that if one medicine is stronger, it must be better. That is not how medication safety works. A drug can be powerful and still be wrong for the person in front of you. Another can seem milder and still cause trouble because of the way an aging body responds to it. The safest choice is not the strongest one. It is the best matched one. So before anyone says amlodipine is safer or metoprolol is safer, three things need to be clear. First, what is the medicine actually treating? Second, what side effects would matter most for that senior? And third, what other health issues are already in the background, even if they seem unrelated? That last point gets overlooked all the time. A person may have mild heart failure symptoms, occasional dizziness, diabetes, a slow resting pulse, circulation issues, or a history of falls. Any one of those can shift the safety balance. This is why medication decisions in older adults are rarely about a single number on a blood pressure machine. They are about the whole pattern. If you are watching this and you take one of these medications, ask yourself something simple. Was it prescribed only for blood pressure? Or was it prescribed because your doctor was also trying to protect your heart rhythm, chest symptoms, or heart workload? That answer changes the conversation immediately. Because the next step is understanding what each of these drugs is actually doing inside the body, and that is where the safety difference starts to become much easier to see. The clearest way to compare these two medications is to stop thinking of them as two blood pressure pills and start thinking of them as two very different tools. Amlodipine works mainly on the blood vessels. It helps them relax and open more. Picture a garden hose with too much pressure running through it. If the hose is tight and narrowed, pressure builds. If the hose relaxes and widens, pressure can come down more easily. That is the basic idea behind amlodipine. It lowers resistance in the blood vessels, so the heart is not pushing against such a tight system. Metoprolol works from another angle. Instead of mainly relaxing blood vessels, it acts more directly on the heart. It blocks some of the effects of adrenaline on the heart, which can make the heart beat slower and with less force. In plain language, it tells the heart to calm down. That can be useful when the heart is working too hard, beating too fast, or dealing with certain rhythm or chest pain issues. So right away, you can see why these medicines are not interchangeable in a simple way. Amlodipine changes the pressure in the pipes. Metoprolol changes how hard and how fast the pump is working. That difference matters because seniors do not all have the same weak point. Some older adults have a heart that is still pumping reasonably well, but their blood vessels have become stiffer with age. In that person, relaxing the blood vessels may be a very logical strategy. Another older adult may have a heart that tends to race, feels strain easily, or has already shown signs that it benefits from being slowed and protected. In that person, a medicine like metoprolol may make much more sense. This is also why the side effects can feel so different. When amlodipine relaxes blood vessels, blood can pool a little more in the lower legs and ankles. That is why some people notice swelling. Their shoes feel tighter. Their socks leave deeper marks. Their ankles look puffier at the end of the day. That side effect can be uncomfortable, and in some seniors, it becomes bothersome enough that the medication has to be adjusted. It may not mean the drug is dangerous, but it can still affect daily life in a big way. Amlodipine can also make some people feel flushed, slightly headachy, or lightheaded, especially if blood pressure drops more than the body is used to. For a younger person, a brief spell of lightheadedness may be brushed aside. For a senior, that same feeling can mean grabbing a wall, moving more slowly, or being one bad step away from a fall. Metoprolol brings a different pattern. Since it slows the heart and reduces its force, some people feel calmer in the chest, less bothered by pounding or racing, and more protected. But others feel dragged down by it. They may say they feel more tired than usual. Their energy seems flatter. Exercise feels harder. Stairs feel steeper. Their pulse may run lower than expected, and some start to feel weak or slightly foggy without realizing the medication could be part of it. That is where the safety conversation gets more interesting. Amlodipine can make a person feel puffy and occasionally unsteady. Metoprolol can make a person feel slowed down from the inside. Neither pattern is automatically worse. It depends on what the person needs and what the person can tolerate. Think of it this way. If someone already has a naturally slow pulse, low energy, occasional dizziness, or a history of falls, a drug that slows the heart even more may deserve extra caution. On the other hand, if someone struggles with a racing pulse, heart strain, certain rhythm problems, or chest discomfort, a medication that calms the heart may be doing something very valuable that goes far beyond the blood pressure number. This is also why seniors sometimes describe these drugs in ways that sound completely opposite. One person says amlodipine was easy and smooth, with no major issues. Another says it made their ankles swell so much they hated it. One person says metoprolol made them feel protected and steady. Another says it drained their energy and made them feel older overnight. Both reactions can be real, because the body receiving the medication matters as much as the medication itself. Doctors are not only asking, did the blood pressure improve? They are also asking, how did the person feel after the change? Did the pulse get too low? Did standing up become harder? Did walking become more tiring? Did swelling appear? Did breathing feel different? Did chest symptoms improve? That is how the safer choice starts to reveal itself. This is the part many seniors never get fully explained. A medication can be doing its main job on paper while quietly creating a problem somewhere else. A blood pressure machine may show a better number, but the person may feel worse. That matters. A reading is useful, but it is not the whole story. The body always tells the truth in the end. It may tell that truth through swollen ankles, low energy, dizziness, a slow pulse, or shortness of breath. That is why paying attention to how the medication changes daily life is so important after 60. So when you compare amlodipine and metoprolol, do not ask only which one lowers pressure better. Ask what part of the cardiovascular system each one is acting on, what trade-off comes with that action, and whether that trade-off fits the person taking it. Because the real safety difference often does not show up in the label on the bottle. It shows up in the warning signs that start appearing after the medication becomes part of everyday life. The real safety difference between amlodipine and metoprolol often becomes clear only after daily life starts changing. That is what makes this so important after 60. A younger adult can sometimes brush off a side effect and keep moving. An older adult may not have that margin. Something that looks small on paper can turn into a real quality of life problem, or even a safety issue, very quickly. With amlodipine, one of the biggest complaints is swelling, especially in the feet and ankles. This can seem minor at first. Shoes feel tighter late in the day, socks leave deeper marks than usual. The ankles look fuller in the evening than they did in the morning. Some people ignore it because it does not feel dramatic, but in seniors, that swelling can change walking, comfort, balance, and mobility. It can also create confusion, because swollen legs may make a person wonder if the heart is getting worse, even when the medication itself is playing a role. That does not mean amlodipine is dangerous for everyone. It means the swelling should not be treated like an unimportant cosmetic issue. It changes how people move, how they feel, and how confident they are on their feet. Amlodipine can also bring dizziness or a lightheaded feeling, especially when standing up too quickly. This matters more in an older body because falls are not small events. A bad fall can lead to a hospital visit, a fracture, or a long recovery that affects independence. So if a senior starts feeling faint, weak, or less steady after starting amlodipine, that deserves attention even if the blood pressure number looks better. There's also a less obvious issue. Some people taking amlodipine may notice a pounding heartbeat, flushing, or a strange sense that their heart feels more noticeable than usual. That can be unsettling. It does not always mean the medication is dangerous, but it can make a person feel as if something is off inside the chest. In someone who already feels anxious about their heart, that can create a lot of distress. Metoprolol brings another set of concerns, and they are often easier to miss because they can look like aging itself. A senior may start saying, "I'm just more tired lately," or "I do not have the same energy," or "I feel slower than I used to." That can happen for many reasons, but metoprolol can be one of them. Since it slows the heart and reduces how forcefully it pumps, some people feel that effect as calm and protection. Others feel it as drag, heaviness, and reduced stamina. That can show up during simple activities. Walking upstairs feels harder. Carrying groceries feels more tiring. Exercise feels flat. The body does not respond with the same spark. This is where seniors and families can get misled. They assume fatigue is just age, when part of it may be the medication lowering the body's pace more than expected. Metoprolol can also slow the pulse too much in some people. That matters because the heart still needs to increase output when the body changes position, walks, climbs, or responds to stress. If the pulse stays too low for that person's needs, symptoms can start showing up in quiet ways. Weakness, dizziness, brain fog, feeling washed out, near fainting. In some cases, actual fainting. That is not a side effect to shrug off. Breathing is another important clue. Some seniors on metoprolol notice shortness of breath, chest heaviness, or reduced tolerance for activity. A person may simply say, "I cannot do what I used to do without needing to stop." If that begins after starting the medication, it needs a closer look. The issue may be the dose, the specific drug choice, the person's heart function, or another condition in the background. But the message is the same. Do not assume the body is just getting older if the timing points to the medication. This is where the idea of safer becomes much more personal. For amlodipine, the warning pattern often centers around swelling, flushing, headaches, and low-pressure symptoms like dizziness or feeling unsteady. For metoprolol, the warning pattern often centers around fatigue, slow pulse, weakness, shortness of breath, low exercise tolerance, and feeling like the body is moving through mud. Neither set of symptoms should be ignored, and neither automatically means the medication must be stopped. What it means is that the medication may need to be reviewed in the context of the person taking it. Another major issue with seniors is that side effects can overlap with existing health problems. Swelling may be blamed on poor circulation or the heart. Fatigue may be blamed on age. Dizziness may be blamed on dehydration. Shortness of breath may be blamed on being out of shape. That overlap can delay the moment when someone realizes the prescription may be contributing to the problem. This is why tracking changes matters so much. Did the ankle start swelling after the medication was added or increased? Did the pulse run lower than usual after the dose changed? Did energy fall noticeably within days or weeks? Did walking become harder? Did standing up start feeling less safe? Those patterns tell a doctor far more than a single office reading. There's also one more thing seniors need to hear clearly. These medications should not be adjusted casually without medical guidance, especially metoprolol. A person should not decide, out of frustration, to suddenly stop taking it because they feel tired or slowed down. With heart medications, sudden changes can create their own risks. The safer move is to report the symptoms, track what is happening, and let the doctor decide whether the dose, timing, or medication choice needs to change. So, the danger is not only in the side effect itself. The danger is in mistaking a medication warning sign for normal aging and letting it continue too long. And that is where the final question becomes the one that matters most. which seniors are actually better suited for amlodipine and which are more likely to do better on metoprolol. The honest medical answer is that neither amlodipine nor metoprolol is automatically safer for every senior. The safer choice depends on what the doctor is trying to treat, what the heart and blood vessels are doing, and how the person actually feels after starting the medication. That may sound less satisfying than picking a winner, but it is the truth. And in medicine, especially after 60, truth matters more than a simple headline answer. If the main issue is straightforward high blood pressure and the person does not need the heart slowed down, amlodipine may be a very reasonable option. It can lower pressure by relaxing the blood vessels without directly suppressing the heart's pace. For some seniors, that makes it easier to tolerate. Their pulse stays more natural. Their energy may stay steadier. The pressure improves without that heavy, slowed down feeling some people describe on beta blockers. But that does not mean amlodipine is the safer drug in every older adult. If a senior already struggles with ankle swelling, leg edema, balance problems, or dizziness from pressure changes, amlodipine may create exactly the kind of issue that makes daily life harder. A medication can look good on paper and still be the wrong fit because of what it does to the body during ordinary things like walking, standing, and getting through the day comfortably. Metoprolol can be the better fit when the person's heart needs more than a blood pressure reduction. If there is a fast heart rate, certain rhythm issues, a history of angina, or another reason the heart would benefit from being slowed and protected, metoprolol may offer something amlodipine does not. In that situation, calling metoprolol less safe just because it can cause fatigue would miss the larger benefit it may be providing. A medication that calms the heart can be doing very important work, even if the person notices that it feels different. This is why the prescription reason matters so much. A drug used only to lower blood pressure is judged one way. A drug used to lower pressure while also helping the heart rhythm or reducing cardiac strain is judged another way. Two people can have the same blood pressure number and still need very different treatment plans. That is the point seniors should really take from this comparison. Safety is not just about side effects in isolation. Safety is about fit. Fit means asking, what problem is this medicine solving? What new symptoms appeared after it started? What risks matter more in this person's life? Are falls the bigger concern? Is low energy the bigger concern? Is chest pain the bigger concern? Is a slow pulse already an issue? Is leg swelling already present? Is the heart under strain in a way that makes slowing it more helpful than harmful? Those questions matter far more than internet debates about which drug is better. There is also the reality of other medications. A senior is often not taking only one prescription. There may already be a water pill, a heart rhythm drug, diabetes medication, kidney-related treatment, or something for sleep or anxiety. Each of those can change the way a blood pressure medicine feels. That is why a drug that seems well tolerated in one person may be difficult in another. The body is not responding to one pill in a vacuum. It is responding to the whole system of age, health conditions, hydration, mobility, and the rest of the medication list. So, if you want the clearest answer possible, it sounds like this. Amlodipine may be safer for a senior whose main need is blood pressure control and who does not do well with heart rate lowering medication. Metoprolol may be safer for a senior whose doctor needs to control heart workload, heart rhythm, chest symptoms, or other heart-related issues that go beyond pressure alone. That still leaves one more layer, and it may be the most practical one of all. The safer medication is often the one that is being monitored properly. That means watching blood pressure, yes, but also watching pulse, swelling, dizziness, breathing, stamina, balance, and overall function. It means noticing whether the person is doing better in real life, not just at a clinic visit. It means asking whether walking feels easier or harder, whether standing feels safe, whether the ankles have changed, whether energy has dropped, and whether the heart feels calmer or more troublesome. This is a good place to ask yourself something simple. Since starting your medication, do you feel more stable and better supported, or do you feel like the medicine fixed one number while creating a new daily struggle? That question can lead to a very useful conversation with a doctor. And that conversation should be specific. A senior should not just say, I do not like this medication. It helps far more to say, my ankles swell every evening now, or my pulse feels lower and I get tired going upstairs, or I get lightheaded when I stand, or my chest feels calmer, but I feel drained all afternoon. Those details help a doctor decide whether the issue is the dose, the timing, the drug choice, or something else entirely. What no one should do is stop either medication suddenly without medical guidance, especially if it was prescribed for an important heart reason. A medicine can be imperfect and still be protecting something serious. That is why changes should be guided, not improvised. So if you are looking for one final answer, it is this. After 60, the safer drug is not the one with the better reputation. It is the one that matches the reason it was prescribed, fits the body taking it, and does not quietly steal stability, energy, or safety in the process. If this helped make the difference clearer, subscribe for more plain, medically grounded explanations. And if you or someone close to you has taken amlodipine or metoprolol, share what changed first, because that is often where the real story begins.